Hey 944 fans, Tim at CRE here in San Diego, Porsche only 944 shop. I want to talk to you a little bit about tools and some of the things you're going to need if you want to work on your own car. People are always amazed when they find out I'm a professional mechanic, and this is the extent of my toolbox. Show that box. That's the extent of the size of the toolbox I have. Pretty good. Picked it up. It's just a run-of-the-mill toolbox, and $100. I got it at a garage sale, almost brand new. So cool. It's much more attractive to me than a big old Matco or Snap-on 6-foot toolbox that costs between $10,000 and $15,000. So don't need it. Okay, if you're working on 944s, this is what you need. So see if you can get close enough to show this stuff. Variety of ratchet handles. Don't get too close though. This is a 1/2-inch ratchet, 3/8 short, quarter drive, a variety of extensions. I've got a wobbly on one that's going to help me get a little bit different angles, but just a variety of lengths right there. Battery operated gun, and this guy, 3/8 drive, quarter drive, that saves a lot of time and fatigue. Don't torque down with those things, but it's great for working quicker. I got a variety of paint pens and markers right here, so I can mark when I've tightened hardware, index it. You'll see a lot of that on my work on the race cars. So the racing drivers, whether at the track, can just look into the car very quickly and go, still tight, still tight, still tight, okay? That's what that's for. A little bit of chemicals, WD-40, and make sure you're using this stuff appropriately. WD-40 does not do everything. I've got a penetrant right here that's better at getting rusted hardware loose than the WD-40. I've got white lithium grease, which actually clings to whatever you put it on, better than WD-40 for greasing things up. Here's silicone. That's your magic key right there whenever you're working with rubber hoses, grommets, anything that makes it go in easier. And I always got to have a big old healthy can of brake cleaner for just getting stuff clean. A couple flashlights. You can see I've got my iPhone. There's a nice little razor knife. Tips. Got to have a scribe, a 90-degree scribe, and one here. These are great for getting the wire cages off of electrical connectors. And then the heart of this stuff is right here. I got a 1/4-inch set of sockets. You don't need to go any smaller than a 7 or an 8, really, up to 13. And I got this one specifically for the 944 turbo turbocharger pipes that come out of there. You need a little tiny tool to get in there, but it's got to be a 15 millimeter. A couple extra 10s ready to go right on top of the work surface. A couple extra 13s. We all know how these things like to migrate and get lost, and who knows where they go to a 944 heaven around the 10 millimeter cloud there. I don't know. Extra 17 on the top because I use that stuff so much. You'll see a repetitive pattern here in my tools. In the quarter drives, it's 8-10-13, 8-10-13. There's a marked absence of 7.5 millimeter and 12 millimeter because we just don't use them, so I don't want them cluttering the top of my box. 17, 13, 10, a little bit shorter, 10, 10, just like that. Good variety of Allen heads for the socket head things. Here's a set. Some of these things you really want to get. These little universal sockets are going to save your butt a lot of times when you can't get a straight shot. So I've got that stuff in quarter drive. I've got these three, 10, 13, 17, and even 19 in a 3/8 drive. Anything bigger, you're going to go up a 1/2 inch, okay? A couple of different 12 points. People also call these triple square. They also call them a cheese head. That's for your CVs. I've got a couple different sizes. One is for the cam bolt. One is for the clutch flywheel bolts. I've got a smaller one for the door hinges, like that. Here's a couple of long Allen heads. This is great for getting inside the cam housing, not the cam tower. There's no such thing as a cam tower on a 944. That's on a 911. Socket plug wrench right there. When I do go to torque down, though, I switch from this guy to a special modified 3/8 drive, 6 millimeter. So I can really put the torque to the 6 bolts that are inside of the cam housing with that. You can put this in and twist it until it stops twisting, but I think I might get a little more precise torque if I use this little special tool that will fit right down inside the cam housing holes. Yeah, there's that. A couple extra sockets in there. There's a 14 for taking off the connecting rod nuts. Couple of step ups, a couple of step downs. Here's a cool little tool that I use specifically, one purpose, for getting the rear gray coupler bolt out of the transmission housing. That gray coupler that holds your transmission input shaft and your drive shaft together. There's a gray coupling sleeve on there. This one will help you get a line up on that rear bolt. If not, it's super easy to strip them, and guess what? It's not a big bolt, but it goes in with 58 foot-pounds. So this helps you get a really good shot on it. Here's a tranny drain and tranny fill plug right here, 17 millimeter. If you don't have that, you can substitute actually a 17 bolt with a nut on it to do that. Crankshaft right here, 24 millimeter deep for the power steering cars, 22, and a matching pair, short 24, short 22. That's for shock absorbers on the top. Front, it's for the control arm rear for the lower shock mount there on the rear, and then also the short 24 for the steering wheel. When you're trying to pull the steering wheel off, you cannot get this tall 24 in there, so you change to this and over here, and you put on an extension like this, and then you can get into that 24 that holds the steering column in. Okay, so that's that stuff. Something that you really should invest in. They're expensive, they can be, but these three are flexible drivers. 6 millimeter, 7 millimeter, 8 millimeter. These are great for hose clamps. You can get under the manifold, in and around things, your power steering reservoir to get on the little water pipe hose. So these are flexible drive. These were $65 each from Matt Co. They're guaranteed for life. They do the job well, strong as hell. Probably could get a cheaper substitute, but I convert all my hose clamps from straight slot screwdrivers over to these hex heads like this. It's a lot more positive. Once you're on, you're not slipping off. Okay, there's a variety of screwdrivers. You got to have at least one long one if you're like working on the air box for a 944. You can't get the Phillips screw that's on the outboard side of the air filter box. Outboard being furthest away from the center line of the car. Or you could do something like this. That's for the battery operated gun. That'll work. So a variety of screwdrivers. Got to have pry bars, you guys, for separating stuff. Here's my go-to right in the corner, and I got the big Mamu in case a little guy like me can't get something busted loose, and then a couple other sizes. Variety of extensions down here in this auxiliary tool cart right here. So on to some of the things you should get for general troubleshooting. This is just a simple, cheap multimeter. I only use it for voltage and ohms. That's it. Get yourself a stethoscope. That's really nice for isolating noises. Stupid cheap at Harbor Freight. Here's an infrared gun, so I can tell if a temperature gauge, oil temperature gauge, is lying to me, because I can put this right on the cylinder head, and it should be right about 180 degrees on the cylinder head. And it does make a big difference if you move it 2 inches, 1 inch over. You got to get the right spots to take a variety of readings. This is an oil filter wrench, right? This is great in case you have hood shocks that are weak. You stick that on the hood shock rod and tighten it down. That way the hood won't fall on your head. I don't think I need anything there. This is the special tool drawer right here, specific to 944 stuff. There's an old rear main for putting in new rear main seals. 2 alignment tools for the cars that have a steel sleeve in the block for the oil pressure relief valve. Cars that don't, nice to have it. If you're working on just your own car, you only need one of them probably there, right? Flywheel lock for a 968 for 944. Clutch alignment tool. There's a nice little force multiplier. You can put wrenches like this and gang them up to get even more leverage, but it's awfully dangerous for your front teeth. Hopefully you're not pulling towards your face anyway, but this guy locks right in, boom, and it gives you a nice big lever, very positive. So that's a little force multiplier right there. I've got a tensioning belt tools. I've got a Noid right here for plugging into injectors to see if the injectors are actually getting the signal to open up. This little tool is for spacing out the roller on the counterbalance shaft idler. And yeah, a little bit of files and stuff. There's tools for cranking the timing belt and counterbalance shaft. There's a pin wrench for doing not only the counterbalance shaft pulleys, but also the 87 on auto tensioner for the timing belt, right? Got to have that. That's cool. Everything goes in a certain place. You want to see me go batshit, move my tools around. I don't like to spend time finding my tools to get a job done, and I need to make damn sure I did not leave a tool in a car. Everything has its own certain spot, and I know right where it is, okay? So a little special tools in here, you guys. Here's one that I think I've written about before, was a, I thought it was right here, the feeler. Now that I've mentioned I can't find it, right? But it's a feeler for getting in, feeling the oil pan gasket, if you're installing the pan gasket with the engine in the car. It's really difficult to see how the gasket is sitting, and I have a little tiny feeler gauge, something like this with a 90-degree bend in it, and it allows me to get up in there and feel. That's a good tool to have. It's simple. You make that out of a spent windshield wiper arm, okay? Other little things in here. There's a hose clamp. That's great for working with fuel lines, like in a back tank. You just clamp it off, replace the hose, unclamp it, good to go. I've got a little piece of stainless steel here that I use for checking trueness of cylinder heads and cam housings. That's handy. I've made up some of these little connectors like this, just chopped them off a thing. I can use that for testing, putting voltage to a fuel injector while having the wires out here easy to work with. You can make a lot of those tools yourself from spent pieces, right? Yeah, little things like that. Here's a tool that's specific to pulling the plug on the airflow meter so that you can make your CO adjustment, your mixture adjustment. Don't mess with that black clock spring in the airflow meter unless you're on a dyno, okay? It's not a good idea. This is used to drill a small hole, drywall screw, pull the aluminum plug out, and you can set your air fuel ratio with a 5mm Allen like that. Yeah, Torx are great to have, 6-point Torx. If you get a stripped out Allen head bolt, you can pound those things in, like the pressure plate. You can pound that thing in, and a lot of times you can get a better grip and get that thing out. I know I've got a sleeve in here. This is specifically for installing front crank seals. So you take this guy, you take your timing gear and your crank bolt, and you sandwich them in there, and this thing pushes it in perfectly even, uniform all the way around, and you get a nice proper fit in there. You don't even have to tap it in anything after that. It's just done. Here's a tow tool for the rear suspension, and this is a sleeve specifically for driving out the center of the oil pump. When you're dismantling that, because it's put in with Loctite 574, can be a bitch prying that thing out. There's an extra oil pump drive sleeve that I keep as a tool for something, don't remember what now, but so lots of things like this. My point here, you don't need to have a huge toolbox full of all these parts for whatever in the cars if you just want to work on 944s. You have to have a good quality. This is a Matco torque wrench. Yeah, got to have a good quality one. I don't use this for big stuff. I use it for up to, say, 60, 80 pounds, something like that. Anything bigger, and I go to this big stupid one that doesn't need to get calibrated. This is for wheels, 96 foot-pounds, the aluminum lug nuts. This is for the front crank, 155 foot-pounds. So I let that stuff there. If I'm doing little tiny stuff, I go to inch-pounds. This is just a breaker bar for, like I said, little guys like me getting it done. Here's a beautiful snap-on wrench that I got on eBay for 179 bucks. Battery, everything, good to go. Dynoed, they actually put them on a dyno. This is a torque sensing torque wrench. So when you do the cylinder heads, and it calls for a 90-degree rotation, this is the one we use. And there's a variety of cylinder head torquing techniques. The 2.5 4-cylinder 8-valve has got one torque spec sequence. If you have 10mm high nuts, If you have 12 millimeter high nuts, it's a different torque sequence. If it's a turbo, it's different. S, a different. 2.7 liter, different. So you got to get those factory manuals, and a wrench like this is going to allow you to do most of the more modern ones, which are torque angle settings, okay? So that's real nice. You got to have a good set of that. Big old wrenches. This is for the oil pressure sending unit, 24 millimeter. Here's a little tiny ratchet, cool as hell. It's, you know, look at how big it is. The way you reverse direction on this thing is you just push the tip through, and now it's loosening. Push it through. Now it's tightening. This is great for under the dashboard. It's great for your flywheel sensor bracket when you're trying to get in there and there's just no room to swing. That's a great little tool. This one is 1.25 inches, the equivalent of metric for my cam housing dog. So I can rotate my camshaft up front where your distributor rotor mounts, suspension, rear, another guy there. And it's not that much, huh? There's a bunch of some other air tools and general stuff like that, but this is what you need. This is what you need right here and here for working on 944s. You can get almost anything done with just this little group of tools, right? I mean, and so you don't need to have that many tools to get the job done, get it done easy, get it done right. Instead of busted knuckles, slipping off things, get the right tool, make a little investment, and hopefully you can rewind this video as many times as you want and show what I've got, why I've got it, even some of the specific jobs to make it easier for you, okay? So invest a little bit and study those manuals and just keep learning about your 944, okay? Thanks. See ya.